You're on.
I'm Timothy of Arundel, authorized 43 years ago this past March. I've won 8 crowns over the last 35 years in 3 different kingdoms. 1 in Caid, 2 in the East, and 4 in Ethelmart. Today I'm going to be going over 10 things you can work on as an intermediate fighter to get to the next level. The first thing is just some theory on how to approach fighting. When I first joined, almost every practice in the society was people put on armor and sparred. And that was it. There was a little bit of instruction, but for the most part, you learned how to block that shot because your thigh hurt, or you kept pounding the same din out of your armor. And it's progressed way past that. Every time I teach a course, I get some newer fighter who is convinced that there's 3 or 4 secret ducal shots that once I know those 3 shots, I can win a crown tournament. Yes, we all have special shots. Dietrich has a shot, Branos has a shot, I have a couple of shots. They only work.
I'm interrupt you and say, step a little closer to the mic, because right now, Branos forgot to bring you out the mic, so you need to be a little closer to it.
I'll continue rather than restarting. Those kind of shots only work because they're firmly grounded in the basics, the foundational material. And again, you have to treat learning how to fight as a buffet, because if you ask 50 different people how to throw a flat snap, you're going to get 50 different techniques. Take a piece of which one works for you. Obviously be polite to these instructors. They're trying to help you out. Try it, see if it works for you. Take a little bit of this person's technique, a little bit of that person's technique, and build up a style that works for you. If you're 5'2", Duke Edmond has some very, very great stuff, but it's going to be different. It'll work differently for you at 5'2" than it does for him at 6'8". My stuff is based on really, really crappy footwork, but I have really, really good hand speed. And so my stuff is built on reflexes and instinct. And again, with this basic foundation. Now there are 3 things you can do to learn that most people skip the first 2. Slow work is where you will learn the most, at least in my opinion. You can analyze the fight when you have time to react for it. If you are working with a more experienced fighter, they're going to guide you. They'll put you in positions. What are you going to do now? They're going to, rather than beating you up till you discover it, if you're doing it in slow motion, every time they'll say something like, look, every time I throw this shot, you do such and such. How are you going to correct that? And they'll work you through that. Slow work, I cannot emphasize enough how important slow work is. The second thing is Pell work. And again, Pell work is one of those things that, in my opinion, is really, a lot of people waste a lot of time doing Pell work. When I'm fighting a lesser experienced fighter, somebody who's not at the deep end of the pool, I can instantly tell you that they've done their Pell work, but they've done their Pell work standing at, this is my distance to the Pell right here. And every shot they ever throw at the Pell is from this distance. If you go to their house or wherever they're at, you'll see little wear marks into the floor or into the grass from them standing precisely at this range. And you also have people who are hitting the Pell as bloody hard as they possibly can. Again, maybe that works for some people, but I do Pell work to work out the details of a shot. How does this work? Where does this get me? If I want to throw an offside, how can I do that in such a way to do that past so-and-so's guard, what have you. And I'll also throw that same shot. If I'm throwing an offside, I'm not going to park at this range. I'm going to throw that offside, and we'll go over this later. If I can throw that offside from this range. Or you know what? I'm a little offset to my opponent. I'm throwing that offside from here. Again, you don't have a little wear mark at your Pell from this distance. The Reaper Challenge is a great thing. But if you do this, if this is your range, what I'll do against that fighter to show them the mistake of their methodology is I'll watch their targeting computers. You can see their little crosshairs line up And right before they throw the shot, just take the slightest little movement one way or the other, and they'll reset their crossing. So pelt work is great. Just make sure you vary it. You do things a little bit differently. And of course, sparring. I love to spar. Nobody loves to fight more than me, but sparring is when you try stuff out. Okay, I've been working on this shot, or I have a chance to try myself out against some really, really good fighters. How do I stack up against Brown? The answer is not very well. But I'll work on that. I'm going to keep eating my Wheaties and I'll get there. If all you do is spar, you're never going to get past that level. So that's just a few random thoughts on where you need to go with your training. Now, one of the things that I really like to do when I'm sparring or when I'm slow work, when you're sparring, you analyze your opponent on the fly. When you're doing slow work, you can do it at full speed. You can figure it out. But one of the things that I look for when I'm fighting my opponent is how they're making their blocks. And that'll take me to the first additional thing I want to go over. A shot that I call a wrist leader is kind of halfway between a snap and a wrap shot. If I'm throwing a wrap, typically I'm going to be in an extremely close range so I can get it deep. I want to go as deep as I can on that wrap shot. A snap, typically I'll throw at a range like this. There are times it's different, but what a wrist leader does is it splits the difference between the two. Can I borrow somebody out here who will pick up a couple of wiffle ball bats as if you're a two-sword fighter? Okay. Let's rotate so the camera can see. Okay. Typically, if I'm throwing at his left arm, all I have to do is rotate the wrist to make the block. If I throw a snap at the arm, simple like that. But if I get a couple inches closer, I can turn the wrist over, make the impact. Works great for this. Same thing if somebody is blocking just minute blocks with the heater. They're catching a quarter inch from the end of that shield when they block their head. It's just barely blocking. I can do the same shot as a wrist leader. And that little teeny precise block, even if you realize, I gotta block when Tim throws that shot, I gotta block my head more. And if he overblocks the head, you can see what it does to the rest of the body. So watch their block a little. Oh, hey, sweet. Next time I'm coming around, and like I said, the same thing for the arm. If he's blocking his arm just a little teeny minute, I'm going to throw it around, force him to go further out, and of course, the more he forces out, the more it opens the center line. So, and you pick that up. If you're not picking that up when you're fighting your opponent, if you're not watching how he's making his block, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. Also, the wrist leader sets you up for, if I throw the wrist leader, I have a really nice thrust at it.
Just a language thing. So, it's a wrap. No, it's really terminology there.
The hand turns over.
A wrist lead is what you call
Yeah,
it.
we
call it a
heard it
thumb
called a
lead a
thumb
lot of
leader,
times.
wrist leader.
What do you?
We call it a thumb leader.
Oh, gotcha. I just call it a short wrap. So that
Oh,
was,
okay.
that's
Yeah.
right. But it really is the same motion you
Same
do with
motion.
that. It's just
Pretty
you're
close.
defining it by the range of where you're at and kind of where you're throwing at, right?
So your wraps are actually coming in. Usually wrap comes in big arc.
Right. In a second, I'll get a little bit more into the shot when I go into one of the other
Fair
things.
enough.
But
Right.
I mean, I understand the difference. I was just trying to make sure I
right,
understood
it's
that.
just strictly
But-
terminology.
I like that, because there's a lot of different labels and stuff, and
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
one thing that it's good for people to know.
All right. Okay. All right. I know where I was going with that. Like, I wrote in my notes, do this and then segue into that, and I'm not gonna. How do I get there? The next shot that I throw is sort of a wrist leader, but I call it a J hook. Sometimes it's called a grasshopper. The mechanics of that shot I teach by teaching a flat snap. To me, when I throw a flat snap, the return is the important part. When I return it, it's the old Bellatrix style teardrop return, acorn return, where I'm dropping the wrist, bringing it over, back onto the shoulder. The mechanics of the J hook are exactly backwards for that. Instead of bringing it back, just the wrong place. Instead of bringing it back here, I'm bringing it forward. And when we talk about observing our fighters, J-hook works great when somebody slightly rotate blocks with their heater, because you'll see that little V that they're giving you is a little roadmap right into their thigh. Whenever anybody rotate blocks at all with their arm rather than a straight crouch, that thigh is mine. I'm going to own that thing. And this is the shot. It comes right up underneath, and it's, as I said, it's the same mechanics. You have a snap with a return or a J-hook. I'll kind of work my wrist like this when I'm, you know, kind of warming up, stretching out, if you will. It's the exact same motion. If I'm doing the snap, it's backwards. You can see it's the same thing. And the force is generated by the wrist. A lot of people, when they're learning this shot, they'll kind of push their arm. They're trying to push into it. And you're not going to get any force at that at all. Because they're probably with that angle of the camera.
Okay.
You're not forcing it here. I'm actually snapping it. And it is that crack of the whip where the force is all generated. And if you watch the edge, I'm turning it over.
At the very end.
At the very end. And you can see, again, this is a perfectly valid shot. This is a perfectly legal shot. But I want to do this shot as effective as possible. When I'm gearing up for a crown or really doing pel work or really working on this shot, I'll park a chair right here.
That's right. Here we go. The stand. Did we do this with a pole, by the way, like a banner pole and a holder?
Because again, this is a perfectly valid shot.
Yeah, but that's not why he's practicing.
It's not effective. If I've got this right here, I'm coming up inside that. Because the tighter I have that to my thigh, the harder it is for him to block. This is a bitch to block. And you can see my edge control. Every time I hit that, I'm turning the wrist over as I impact. Tight to my body, just like that. And again, the mechanics are exactly what you get from a flat snap return with an acorn style return. I don't know if you teach it, the mechanics.
We don't actually do these. So it's going to be interesting going back home. Because Kern was just,
Doing grass cut. Yeah, he calls it a grass cutter.
Everybody had a different
Everybody
name.
has a little different name to it.
But I mean, that is, I don't have your foot speed.
No, it's all good.
So
Yeah.
my goal, I want to be in somebody's face. With all the buckler I do, I got a lot of good range control stuff. The next thing we're going to talk about, again, the Molinet, my favorite shot. Fighting all the buckler I do, probably 90% of my kills come from a Molinet. I personally learned the Molinet because in my youth, I was all about speed. I was a speed merchant. I'm gonna throw this fat. I'm gonna hit you with a flat snap. I'm gonna tell you it's coming. I'm gonna telegraph the living shit out of it, but you're not gonna be able to block it. Sometimes they blocked it. Sometimes it was light, but I would pose. That was beautiful. Crap, you blocked it, and I would just get pummeled. Rip off my arm, rip off the head. It doesn't matter. And with a knife like Tim, if you're gonna do that, how about you return it into kind of a hanging guard and then lazily drift it back onto your shoulder. I'm like, okay, and I kind of got into the habit of this. And once he trained me that, he's like, okay, now you're set up. You're going to throw a Molinet out of that. And a Molinet, as I defined it, I'm gripping the sword with a death grip here, and usually I don't. And I'm driving my elbow into my groin to get that shot, whether it's the head, whether it's the body, whether it's the leg. When you do this, you also want lateral movement. I know my footwork sucks, but I still move on this shot because I want to be as far past the center line as possible. You can see my hand is already way across here, so it's bad enough. It's as if he's fighting a lefty because the angle I'm coming in is from here. But if I take that step across, it's so much the better. You can see how a heater fighter would have to block that. They have to come so far across their center, and once you have them moving that far, you can see how you rotate out of the legs. Piece of cake, there's all other places I can go. Please feel free to interrupt. I mean, I know this is review for all of you. I see very, very few of you who are at what I would define as an intermediate level of fighting. So we're going through this material to really get.
And again, a good way to practice this is, come here for a good pole, is again, you can essentially hold this pole. I'll hold the pole. Okay. So here's that pole. You have to throw on the other side of this pole. Bang. Let's go ahead, just so you can see it from behind. There's this pole. It's like dead on my center. Look at that. Right? And you're practicing that. As you get better and better, put it across the body. Look at that.
If we're going to that, that's where we're going next with the next thing I like to call levers. And this is a nice pel drill. ahead and hold like this. Okay, if I just throw a slot shot, it's an easy block. Now, if you can imagine the reciprocal motion in an old steam locomotive, when I throw that same shot like this, it's easily blocked. When I pull my arm in, it's like this. You can lower this, you're doing this on a Pell. I can do the same thing into the thigh. The shots that you already use, you can increase what you do with them by changing the lever, getting into an Atlantean style A-frame. Okay, this blocks a snap. This is a snap. Same exact motion. You can see the difference. My body mechanics moved from this with a slight rotation of my torso. It's this.
See how he pulls his elbow in?
That's
Get
what I was
that?
trying to see. Was
He's tucking his
I'll
elbow
give
in
you
here.
a different angle here.
Right?
Again, a snap is here.
just okay. Just please.
Same thing. Lower the shield like it's a Okay, offside. Again, this is a simple block against an Atlantean A-frame. It's the same exact shot, same exact mechanics. I'm slightly adjusting the position of my arm. As I demonstrated a minute ago on the Pell, if I throw an offside, I should be able to hit an offside from this range. It'll hit with plenty of force. You can see my edge control is perfect. It's just mechanic. Practice the shot, get it down. I call this levers. Any shot you do, you can do the same thing.
You may also hear this as angles, right? We do this as angles. We're just changing the angle, same form. We just changing the angle of our elbow and our sword. Like I can throw here, I can throw here, right? You know, all of these are, I throw here. That's the same shot. I changed levels at the last one, but the other two were just angles.
Again, please feel free to jump in with questions if you have them. Next thing I like to call the cheater step. The easiest way to teach a cheater step I found is against a legged opponent, but it works perfectly fine against somebody who's standing up. The Pell will be fine for this.
Okay.
I really want. Yes, I'm going to teach you something about footwork. I know that's an alien concept. When I leg my opponent, I'll do one of two things. Either I will stay engaged with them and finish them off before they have a chance to really catch themselves, or do the exact opposite. Okay, I'm going to step back where they fall flat on their face, they can't touch me. Okay, they're not staring into the sun, that's cool, but I want to get from here to there as quickly as possible. With me, if that's my opponent, I like to, as a target, if their knees are here, I don't like to go past that line. I just think it's kind of, yes, it's gray line for legality, but to me it's just uncool. I don't like to get closer than that. So if you can envision that when you get a different, what I want to do is get from here, ignore my footwork for now, I want to be here to attack my opponent. Now the simplest way you would think, you would intuitively think, I can get there in 2 steps if I 1, 2, and then I'm here and I'm covered and I can block this. But when I take that first step with this foot, I don't just expose that leg, I expose my entire body. So I take that lead step, and instead of here, I'll take that step here. I'm now totally covered, still behind my shield, as if I'm here, but I'm this much closer. I launch off of that back foot and lunge myself into position. The momentum carries my right foot to where I want to be. And what I do in this position, I want to force them to sword block. What I'll do is I will throw a shot to their their right temple. Because if I throw, and I want that to impact, when my left foot lands, I want this shot to impact. Now, if they shield block that, when my right foot comes around, my knee is now in their heater. I didn't put it there, they put it there. And if my knee is right here on your heater, there's not a damn thing you can do. I can hit you whenever I want to. So the only valid approach to this is for them to sword block. And when they sword block, oh, look at that. I've now established control of their sword. I have my shield on their sword. I'm not shoving it, but if they pull it back, I'm going to follow. I'm going to keep that sticky shield on their sword, and then when I get bored, I'll kill them. In a tournament, I always give up my leg when I take somebody's leg because I've already won. This is not, it's like when you tie your shoes. If you tie your shoe and don't miss a step, when you finish, it's tied. When you take somebody's leg, if you do this the way I've just done it, they lose every time. But again, the step works, the cheater step works in movement when you're jockeying for position. Lateral movement, and again, I know my footwork sucks, I freely admit that. But what I can do with that cheater step when we're jockeying for position, you know, I'm trying to get a good angle on you. My opponent is thinking I'm taking little steps like this, little steps like this. When I take that cheater step, I get to cover twice as much ground because I've essentially taken this step into here, if that makes sense.
Which is the most dangerous step, closing on your opponent, really.
You should try it sometime.
I just
I'd
tell
love
my
for you to
range.
close against me.
No way.
Again, I understand all this is review for, but the next thing I want to cover, we just call magic. Most newer fighters, especially intermediate fighters, judge their range to their opponent based on center of mass, and that is not the way to do it. If you grab the wiffle ball bat, get in the traditional left foot lead. Left foot, no, left foot, right, left. You know, if we're here, I can touch him, he can touch me. Now, this is center of mass to center of mass, but this is his line of attack. If I'm here, I can touch him, and if he throws, he's 6 inches short. It's a magic trick. You can use that both directions. I use that to increase his range, but conversely, I can do it the other way. If he throws a shot, I can close inside of that. I can throw shots, and if he throws a flat snap, it's not going to do anything. It's another way to move out of a shot. If he throws a snap at me, obviously I can block it by stepping out. I don't have to use my shield, I don't have to use my sword, but I can also jam it by being inside. I'm covered. So you can do it to increase their range or decrease their range, depending on how you want to do it.
I think the key in this one, and it's an interesting place, jamming is a very big part of boxing, right? And where it's really used mostly is with taller people. A lot of times I rotate shield side on people my height or maybe a little taller because this is a very safe zone to be in. So if he's fighting, if I'm here, this shot, there's not a lot. You're going to throw some offside. I don't really care about it. I'm in a pretty safe place. I can relax and breathe, right? They're still pretty amped and tension. I found that with a taller person, they throw that above your sword and through the back of the head. So instead, when you're fighting that taller person, you're like right in here. You're jamming that arm. There's not a lot they can do. They're going to want to throw big wraps, but they're still kind of jammed in there. They're like having to pull back to do stuff. So that's what jam is really a nice thing to do. Just know how to do it and then get some people back to do it.
The next thing, this will take kind of a while to get across. I call this a terminal shot. I mean, we all know the concept, but I'm sure we all call it very, very different things. If I'm fighting an opponent, I fight a lot of buckler. And obviously with a shield this big, you can't block everything, you just can't. I like to establish control on my opponent. You know, if I'm dictating the fight, if I have them entirely in a defensive posture, they can't throw anything. Each shot has a certain amount of time it takes for a shot to happen. If I'm fighting somebody and they're tick-tocking me, and because I'm fighting buckler, I'm blocking with everything. They can tick-tock in perpetuity. And if they can manage to keep the range, if they manage to stay engaged with me, I can't break this up. I'm stuck in defensive mode because I can't really generate an offense. That's where terminal shots come in. Again, this you can do in perpetuity. There's no need to rechamber. Whatever permutation of this shot you want to do, it can go on forever. But as soon as they do a shot, say they take this into a deep leg wrap, that's a terminal shot. There is no for all intents and purposes, no quick combination from here, no 1-2. The closest thing I have to a combination out of this shot is here, and I'm still rechambering. So when my opponent launches this, by here I already know where they're going. Doesn't matter if it's head or leg, it's in that hemisphere, so I can make the block. But I am already planning my assault. I'll make that block, assuming it's coming to the leg. I've got a buckler. I'm tent block because that's where it's coming. But he's got no return. I have a beat to make a shot. Deep leg rat. You're in a snap. Yes. Because from where you were, you got a shot. Sorry. And with a buckler now, I'm shield snatching in here. And you know, however high.
Because this has to return somewhere.
He has to return. He can't throw a shot. I have an absolute free play to do whatever I want to because he can't hit me. I have yet to figure out the physiology to go from here to anything other than like this with a force. You have to chamber. However you regroup it, yes, you can bring it around like this, but this is a slow and there's no good shot. The time frame between this and this is way different than the time frame between this and this. And in that time, like I said, I counterpunch. I've already planned that I've stack blocked because, again, I'm fighting buckler. If he brings it up into a fake, I'm covered. And as soon as the impact, whether it's on the sword or on the shield, I'm snatching and throwing because it's a terminal shot. Does it make sense what I'm trying to convey?
So I just want to be clear. Your shot is not the terminal one. It's the one they threw.
I happen to throw a terminal shot as well, but my opponent
Watch his turn. Why is his shot terminal here?
He throws. I'm here.
Sure. Oh,
Because
sure.
he's throwing the same thing.
I get you. So it doesn't matter who threw it. You were just using the example. The terminal shot.
But the
when
thing
you
is,
can't
I'm
come
throwing-
out of
You got it.
immediately. That's what
I'm blocked. I'm snatching the bottom of that shield. His chances of blocking that is almost non-existent.
Sure.
Essentially, the person who is currently in the defensive posture, blocking, is waiting for their opening. So as soon as that person
Yes,
does
as
a
soon
normal
as-
shot, they have paused themselves just by the nature of the shot they've thrown. That's your moment to take
Right.
the shot.
One of the things I teach when I fight buckler is initiative. Initiative is everything when you're fighting buckler shot. If I am the aggressor, if you will, if I've established control in the fight, and yes, you'll get into a 1-2 sniping kind of thing, but with a buckler, I have to establish control. I have to be dictating. I'm going to try and avoid engagement unless I'm in charge. Yes, I'll do a sniping shot here or there, but I'm not going to go toe-to-toe with a fighter with a decent-sized shield when all I have is to block a 12-inch pie plate. And so I want to establish control, and I'm starting to get into tomorrow's class, but this is a sword, this is a shield, but this is also a shield, and this is also a sword. I can't hit him with my buckler, but I have to establish control. One way to establish control is, like I said, I'm TikTok. I'm forcing him into defensive mode. He can't do anything. But another way to establish control is what we just talked about, sticky shield. If I make contact with the sword, he could be fighting polearm, he could be fighting greatsword, what have you. Cool. Now that I've made contact, I can hand it off. And once I've established control here, as long as I'm maintaining contact, there's nothing he can do. And if he manages to clear it, I'll throw something clear and step out. Yes.
Do you see that your buckler is more like to deny them the ability to do stuff more than it is to just block?
Yes.
Again, I'm
Yes,
getting
and.
ahead of tomorrow, but the way I treat, that's fine, I'm happy to. The way I treat buckler, I use a football analogy. I'm muddying up his passing. Get in any stance, pick a stance. Okay, from this stance, you look at your opponent, what can he throw? Yes, he has a very, very weak offside that he can throw. But for the most part, the only thing he's going to throw with force is coming through that alley. So I want to set my stance up so that I'm ready for that shot. My 1A is right here. This is what's coming, and I'm ready for that. So I can take control of it with the sword. I can take control with the shield. But as long as I have control of that, I want to establish control and keep it.
And the key is he has to come in, because as I'm coming back, he's too far. So if he doesn't come in,
Yeah,
bang, and then I'm free.
Yep.
But if he gets that, if I throw it, he's stepping in
Yeah,
with this,
I'm
I
here.
am not free. This is kind of that Tai Chi moment that you're having in that fight. You're just following. Right? And a good way to do that is literally set up a drill where here I am. And your goal is to kind of follow my arm.
Let's rotate that towards the
Okay.
camera so they can see the stand.
This is also, we do this with pole arm. With the kind of like the Grace, Tim, Tom. Sorry, not Tim. But you're Tim. And he does that. He gets on top of you, and he's just flowing with you. And he'll fight here with pole arm all day, and you'll feel stupid. You know?
And if I can get my hands to move on the
I
floor,
know, it kills me,
it's
right?
frustrating as heck.
It is,
But
but-
as I was saying for the camera, I know the shot that he's throwing. And as soon as I see that coming, I'm stepping in and establishing control.
And now this is really hard. Even if I drop down, he might level change. Well, look how he's following, right? And he's not pushing, because as soon as he pushes,
Yeah, if I push, yes. I'm just tracking it. Just tracking it, just keep tracking it.
So are you saying that if he, this probably went too far, but if he's using his shield to push on your hand, are you taking that energy he's giving you?
yes, and then you release it, he goes through, and you got through.
Aside from the fact that technically if I'm shoving his arm, that's illegal.
You have to follow.
Yeah.
Now you can maintain position.
Oh yeah, and you saw when I made contact, I did not shove, I just met it. And then as he pulls back, I'm just tracking it.
And the key here is he has an option. If I start pushing on him, his option is to give some. You see how now he's using different things, or he can add a little pressure and then release it,
Yep,
and then bang.
yep.
Because I'm not controlling anything.
And control is everything. Like I said, I've seen some of the guys who are in different physiology than I am. The tall, lanky guys like Butler, and they keep their legs way out here so it's not a target. And they're standing like this. That I'm too top heavy. I'm 5'10" and I have a 28-inch inseam. You know, you're not gonna stand like that with that. So I can't do that. So the only way I can fight Butler is jumping in your face.
But come tomorrow for more of that buckler.
Yeah, I love infighting. Last two things I want to touch base on are we did a little bit of shield pressing, but moving their shield out of position. There's a lot of different ways to do that. Yes, I can move it out of position by throwing a shot and then throwing a fake out of it. That's one. Very few of us can snipe at somebody and make a shot. So we have to do other ways to get their shield out of position. As I said, we did the one thing earlier where I snatched up underneath it and so forth. We did, we've all seen where I'm pressing. I talked about kneeling into it with my knee. Again, slight misstatement. They're blocking in front of their body and my knee ends up there. I'm not
pushing with them.
I'm not shoving into them, and I despise the thing where the guy uses it. It's just low class. You don't do that, but you also have this. This is your friend. This is a perfectly valid shot, perfectly legal. Same thing, I can grab it at the top. I do that a lot. Oh look, he's going to put his shield right. Did we get a decent angle on that?
Yeah, you good.
Okay. And the last, just a couple last little notes. Let me get up my thing. Thank you. The last is just a few minutes of bloviating. One of the things a lot of people do is tip their pitches. Again, it's a sports analogy. If somebody's gearing up for an offside, you can invariably see that the arm is coming up like this, the wrist is coming up like this, because you're trying to make it quicker. They don't have to lift and throw. They're getting a head start. If you watch for that, you will be amazed at how many fighters, this is an onside, this is an offside. Ideally, whether I'm throwing a snap to the head, a snap to the leg, a wrist leader to the head, or the wrist leader to the leg, I want my shot to look like this until I decide. You don't have to have my hand speed if all of your shots look the same. If my opponent can get to here before I know where that shot's going, they don't have to have my hand speed. It takes away my reaction time, forces me. Sometimes you can even force your opponent to guess. If I have to guess, especially with a smaller shield like that or my buckler, if I guess, I'm toast. Or at best, what I have to do, I have to stack block. And if I've stacked, if my sword is blocking, my
By
sword,
the way, what a stack block means is he has a buckler or a shield in his hand. And he's stacking defense
I'm
on that
covering
side of the
both.
body.
If I don't know where you're going, I have no choice, or I'm going to lose something. If I guess wrong, oh, he's throwing at my leg, bam. I call it a stack block. The next thing is, this is a head game thing. When I take a tournament field, I'm the first one in that list. I am waiting for them to call the names. It's not an arrogant thing. I do not do anything that's unchivalrous. I don't belittle my opponent. I don't do anything. This is my field. You have to take this field from me. I don't say it. I don't know. You don't need. But my mindset is, this is mine. This is, you're the first one there. They have to come and take that from you. Sometimes they do it. Obviously, you're not going to win every fight. But that's my mindset. The analogy I use, a pop culture references, even old ones. If you remember in The Phantom Menace, after he kills Qui-Gon, Darth Maul is there, and he's in front of the big pit, and he's, moving his lightsaber back and forth, generating sparks while waiting for Obi-Wan. He's just like, that's me. I'm like, this is mine. I'm ready. That's my mindset. I am ready for anything you can do. This is mine. You're going to have to take this away from me. And the last thing I'm going to touch base on, and obviously if you got questions, two things left. Don't gamble. A lot of times, I know I can take that leg before you can hit me. I just know I can get that. No. If you gamble, you're gonna lose. You have to fight not to lose. You're not fight. Obviously, you want to win, but if I'm like, I can hit him, and look at my head. I have to make the block before I make the shot. Defense first. And the last thing I will tell you, set your opponents up. The first crown I won in the East, I ended up in the finals against now Duke Wolfstand from Meridian. For 6 months, every time we fought, I faked to the head, hit him in the leg. 6 months. Fake to the head, hit him in the leg. First fight in the Crown Tournament Finals, fake to the head, fake to the leg, hit him in the head because his shield was down around his ankles. And not only did I win the first fight, he walked off the field like this. I knew I had won the entire 5-fight finals because he was here. I ceded the two-sword fight to him without taking the field. I'm like, I suck at two-sword, you can have that, let's not waste our time. And I took all of the fights we had to do. Because I set him up. Wolfstand is a hell of a fighter, technically phenomenal. Love the guy. I was thrilled when he finally won his first and won his second. But he is very, very predictable. He makes this block every time the same way. He makes this block the same way every time. And so, okay, I can set him up like this. And so if you have somebody that, you know what, so-and-so, I'm likely to fight him in that next tourney we're going to be at. Learn what your opponent does, plan for it. Thank you. Any questions? Otherwise, I'll let him turn off the camera.
So before we turn the camera off, just because I know it's just so everybody knows out there, it's raining here a little bit. If you don't mind the rain and you want to practice any of these things, I'm more than happy to come out and help you do that. We do have a little bit of room in here if you want to just if there's something here that you like, can I try that? Coaches are out here, all these coaches are out here for a lot of this. There's a lot of coaches in here, come listen. You notice that we all come listen because we all learn how to do stuff better. Learning is a lifetime, right? And we're trying to provide that opportunity. This is a great opportunity. If there's something here, it's like, hey, can you show me a drill for, that grass cutting, right? So, again, we did that drill with the pole, but, it's like, all right, show me how you set that up with your hand. And there, you just watch, bang. And then do it again. There we are, bang. This is what we practice at home. Do it 10 times. So you get the timing.
Slower.
Right?
I went to my first SCA practice And my take is, look, these are just a couple of idiots swinging swords at each other. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen. And that, for the most part, was the level of instruction that was at a lot of the first practices that most of us went to. And that dynamic has changed over the last 15, 20 years. People like him. And so let's take advantage of that.
Yeah, I mean, we're learning to teach better, and that's really why so many of us are here. But remember that a lecture class is very good for those that can listen to a lecture and kind of keep focus on it and things like that. There's a lot of people that can't. So sometimes breaking that lecture into pieces, reinforcing with the physical, which is how a lot of people learn, and then going back to a lecture helps everybody in your class instead of just those who listen. That makes sense?
I want to go back to the terminal shot thing, just because.
Yeah, I like that, and actually, I want to see that drill too.
I want to come back, and so you're talking. So one of the things you're going to talk about later about rhythm, and the whole thing with rhythm is okay. You establish a rhythm and break it, but if you're doing a TikTok and you're in one the entire time, one, and then you 1, 2, finally throw, you're exposing yourself to someone like you who's waiting for that.
Oh yeah,
shot. That terminal shot, and so or the shot that just takes longer to develop the next shot from.
Yes.
I see so many fighters who are so aggressive and they throw so many shots, and these are kids in their 20s and 30s. I'm almost 60, and 5-10 minutes into fighting, they're exhausted, and I can put on my helmet and fight for 2 hours.
Yep.
And it's, I jokingly say it's like the Jane Fonda low impact SCA. It burns no endurance to just turtle up. Oh, you did that. And they've thrown 20 shots, and I've made a couple blocks.
And you're just watching for their change in rhythm to go, okay, now this is where I'm going to fire. As opposed to using the rhythm to open, you're using the rhythm to say, okay, you're throwing the same rhythm, now you're changing, I'm going to take
now
advantage.
is my opportunity.
I'm going to pounce, exactly.
Okay. I just want to make sure I understand.
Oh,
Yeah, and now understand that he has that change because you've done this for so long, and he's done it so many times while fighting, right? But it took time to develop.
Yeah, and again, I hate to bloviate, but it frustrates me when I go to a chivalry meeting and they expect somebody to compete at my level. If we're going to, I authorized in 1983. When I authorized, nobody on the planet had done it for more than 15 or 16 years. I've now been authorized 42 years. Sometimes when somebody throws a shot, I have no idea. I don't consciously register what. I gotta block this. Sometimes I couldn't tell you what the hell I register. So it's unfair for me to expect somebody who's been doing this 5 years, 6 years, 8 years to have the same reflexes I've developed over 40. So it's just something that frustrates me, but it ties into what you said.
Yeah, and I think the big piece here is the more we actually practice intentionally, then the more opportunity we have to ingrain and get to a point faster than we used to with ingraining that to more reaction. All right, so just beware. Be creative on your drills. You can put poles up to shoot around, right? Changing those angles or levels or levers, right? So work those. If this is easy, make it come over here.
Go out with a short, practice. You know what? Let me try a shorter sword. I do at range stuff really, really well. You know what? I got to learn infighting. I'm gonna knock 6 inches off my sword. It's gonna force me to fight in close.
You know what? You don't do range fighting because then you stand all day long right here and let's pound people down. It's like, oh, this is great. Grab a buckler.
Thank you very much, and I hope everybody took something out of this.
Thank you.
Thank you.